Great day to talk hockey with Grant McCagg on HabsCast.
Absolutely, indeed. We'll just delete that comment. Keep that stuff to yourself, Stanex. We want to build a little bit of anticipation for folks here. So, hey, glad you could make it on a Sunday afternoon with no football, right? I figured we get a few people on board here. Yeah, lots of stuff to get to today. I just taped a video with Rick Springhetti, and he we talked about, well, we did a Habs prospect of the week, draft prospect of the week, went into the Olympic look at the three groups, who are the favorites, who we think will win. You're going to be shocked by who we both thought might win the whole thing. And we also talked about the Habs lineup, trade deadline, what they may end up doing. Yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm glad you could join us. I'm going to get right to the interview with Rick. I'm going to post a couple questions that you can maybe, on the live chat that you can maybe discuss. I will pipe in a little bit on the live chat and be moderating. So as always, be kind and respectful. So we'll play this video with Rick, and we will. Good day, Bob Graton. There's a new name. How are you today? Glad you could join us here. I like to see new names up here on the screen, but there is a Habs prospect that reminds me somewhat of former Habs great Mats Naslund. You can probably figure out who it is, but got some video on him. I talk about him, and he's a player that you should be excited about. So stay tuned. It's in part of this podcast with Rick, and we'll play that right now. Good Sunday to you today. I'm with Rick Springhetti for our weekly look at the prospects. Rick's got his draft prospect of the week. I've got my Habs prospect of the week. We'll take a look at the upcoming schedule for the Habs Olympics. We'll try to prognosticate on that, Rick, and see who we think can come out of each group. I'm imagining you think Italy will be, the dark horse, but we'll see. We'll see what you got to say about that. Okay, let's get rolling here. Obviously a big win last night by the Habs. The battle for third place, I guess you could say. And if we have a look at the Atlantic standings today, I decided to go with win percentage, Rick. Because you know why? Habs are in second when you.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
They do have a game in hand on Detroit. Yeah, they're a point back, but I think they're going to get a point and a half the next game, and they'll be ahead. They'll be ahead of them by a half a point. What do you think?
We're going to do things our way, Grant, and then yes, that half point is going to happen. I think it's going to maybe a goaltending goal. Maybe Dobish could score a goal, and we get an extra. Habs will get an extra point out of that. I think we could speak to our friend Liam McGuire about that little-known rule that was created in 1927.
All right. Oh, Rick, you're on fire. Have lots of coffee in you already this morning, or what?
4 espressos, baby. I'm ready to go. No, not quite that much. I wouldn't go that crazy.
Yeah. So let's have a quick look here. Tampa, hey, 8-1-1 in their last 10. Bruins 8-1-1 in their last 10. I think the proof's in the pudding here. Not one team below 500 in the Atlantic Division in their past 10. So it's safe to say that there's not a deeper division as far as there's no weak sisters in the Atlantic this year, is there?
No. Every game is a battle, and you see the standings, just massive changes. It seems almost every day, right? One win and the whole thing just changes incredibly, and it keeps teams on their toes for the playoffs. A little bit surprised to see like Detroit doing so well, to be honest with you, but
Yeah.
they do have some skilled players. I guess a lot of them had off seasons last year, and again, it just changes. Seeing Buffalo coming on strong, did people make fun of Kevin Adams? They put together a decent team. I think we mentioned that yesterday at the post game show, and Boston, who always seem to find the right player to fit their team, and then Tampa Bay that just constantly stays on top.
Yes.
I think Ottawa has been through a tough time this season between injuries and the off ice situations. But you look at their roster, and it's a really good one, and they could come on strong. And Florida is two-time Stanley Cup champ, and so every team has a reason to be on top and doing well. So it's going to be a great end of the season.
Yeah, for sure. Daxon Rudolph is coming up. Whoops! Let the cat out of the bag there, Rick.
We'll call it a preview.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know why this sometimes doesn't cooperate, but I wanted to put. Okay, that's weird. Let's do this. No. Okay. Well, we can't put our faces in here. People don't need to see us anyway. The goal differential there, Rick. Tampa Bay's plus 52. 34, 14, and 4. They're kind of starting to pull away a bit there. I think they're at this point, they look like the team to beat in the division. You're going to have to go through Tampa, I do believe, to make the conference finals this year.
I do think so. They're solid.
Yeah.
That defense too, by the way, sorry, like so much experience playing together. Everybody steps up, great size. They just have it all, and their leaders, their veterans, keep on being good year after year after year, and they just play like they're in cruise control sometimes, just waiting to step up when the time is right. So you're spot on about Tampa Bay being the team to beat.
I think I was going to bring up, like, when you look at these teams, Detroit has a pretty solid defense core now. Buffalo, well, we've seen that last 3 games. They're big,
Mm-hmm.
Boston, same deal. They got some ruggedness. Florida as well. Ottawa, pretty decent defense core. At the end of the day here, when you look at it, the Habs have the most goals in the division and the most goals against. So right now it's kind of, it's exciting hockey, but I don't necessarily think it's a recipe for success in the playoffs, right? Typically the team that scores a lot but gives up a lot, once the tight checking comes in, they're not scoring as much, yet they're still giving up goals and they end up losing.
Right.
I think Montreal, I know the Goulet being back helps, but I still wonder about the 6 defensemen invariably getting less than 10 minutes a night, and that being Arbor Jacki at this point. Not that I don't think that he can do the job, but it's not me that makes the ice time decisions. It's Marty and Stefan Robidoux.
Right.
I don't think they trust him enough to play him a regular role at this point. Yet they need some physicality and size in, like when you look at all these other defense cores, they're bigger. And I think Montreal, it has to look at adding a veteran. And we touched on it last night, and you brought up the name Eric Goodbranson, who I hadn't thought of, but I mean, Columbus is on a heater now, as I noticed after, and I'm looking at, they're like they're the 9th place team right now.
Right.
Well, if they're in 9th, and a couple points out of the playoffs at trade deadline time. Like a lot of teams, it's going to be hard to justify getting rid of a player like Goodbranson who can help you, who can definitely help you get into the playoffs. So
for sure.
There may not be many available, but Luke Schenn seems to be a name that keeps coming up as a possibility to perhaps. I think the Canadians need to add. What I'm getting at here is a big physical presence on the right to fortify that defense group. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I have to agree with you because on top of everything, just when the playoff, if your sixth defenseman is playing 7-8 minutes a night, as you said, and they don't trust that you could give them more, then you need depth anyways, right? Because your seventh defenseman, you're definitely not going to trust if you don't trust your sixth defenseman. So come playoff time, you don't want, if God forbid an injury happens to one of their top 5 defensemen, they're kind of done then because everybody else only plays a few minutes a game, and you can't. We've seen it. You can't have guys like Matheson and Goulet and play 26, 27, 28 minutes a game night after night because it doesn't work for them. They're not Charlie McAvoys. They don't play 30 minutes night after night after night. So you're gonna, no matter what, you need that depth. Even if they were playing 12, 13 minutes a night, you still need that depth. Everybody gets depth come playoffs time in case something happens. I think getting Schenn, a guy like Schenn, would be the best solution because he is on the right side. He is bigger. Carrying the playoffs. Well, it's not easy for him, right? He got rocked a little bit last year, and he might be one of those guys that come playoff time might not be as comfortable playing that game just because there's just no space, and you got to fight off too much checking, and it becomes difficult. And a guy like Schenn, on top of it, a guy like Schenn has been through a few organizations. He has a ton of experience, so you don't have that situation where you need him to adapt too much to your team. He doesn't play a style of game that you need a lot of times to get used to your teammates because his game is so simple. They just bang it off the boards, bash whatever forward is near your goaltender and push him out of the way.
Yeah.
So I'm a big proponent of getting a guy like that. We keep talking about him just because the choices are limited. There's just not enough teams that are not playoff bound that are looking to move guys. The Rangers don't have that big defenseman that is maybe can be had for a lower price for a limited amount of time. Everybody they have is signed for a long-term deal. It's a big contract that you have to take on. Chicago doesn't have that big, heavy veteran defenseman. I think Grizzleneck is their their veteran. I've never say his name well, but he's a left-handed and he's not very big. Like I think he's 5'11".
And his neck is grizzled. His neck is grizzled as well. So
he did win a cup with Boston, which is not a bad thing, but I do think Schenn is probably the best option.
Yeah. Well, I just had an epiphany here. So, okay. So if you got Luke Schenn, Rick, that gives you 3 right defensemen. The issue with that is unless you're taking Carrier out of the lineup, one of Schenn or Carrier has to be in your top 4, right? Because you've got then you've got Dobson, Carrier, Schenn on the right. So that would mean like one of those left defensemen would be on the 3rd pairing. That should be ahead of Carrier.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you want it? I almost think that maybe they look at a left defenseman even that can play.
It might depend on who's available, right? Do they go then for a defenseman that seems to be playing much better? Also with Winnipeg is Stanley, who seems to be playing his best hockey in his career right now, and he's available. And I know you're not a huge fan of his, but this year he seems to be playing better hockey.
Right. Well, I've just seen it too often in OHL playoffs and such. There, he just
Okay.
The big moments there, I don't know, he makes mistakes, but yeah, wouldn't be my choice, but yeah, he's big. And he's getting more points this year, but the Habs don't need points. They need reliability in the defensive end, and I still when the pressure's on, Logan Stanley still for me. Yeah. Well, the thing is here, like ideally I like the 4 guys they have in the top 4, Matheson, Gooley, Dobson, Hudson. Now, if you get another right defenseman, as I say, unless he goes in the top 4, one of those 4 guys is going to have to be on the third pairing and Carrier on the second. If you go with Carrier and Shen in the lineup and go with 3 rights and 3 lefts, I'd prefer having like Gooley on his offside or Hudson on his offside to having Carrier in the top 4. So that becomes a question. To me, still, the ideal solution is Reinbacher, right? Because I think Reinbacher can be a top 4 defenseman, play with Hudson, and put Matheson with Carrier on the third pairing. They penalty kill. They're the top penalty killing group. So could they not be the shutdown pair? They seem to be when it comes to penalty killing. So why not 5-on-5? Have those guys out there protecting leads. They seem to be the most relied on pair on the PK. Well, why not have them as that's if Reinbacher comes in, he looks good enough. He's got the size, physicality, poise, all that stuff, smarts. But they're not going to start the playoffs with Reinbacher in there without him having any experience. So it keeps circling back to Reinbacher. I almost prefer that to picking up a Shen and then having to drop one of those 4 guys that I mentioned down to a third pairing. Then you have like I don't know. I just there's a lot of question marks there. I guess Matheson on the third pairing. So if you had again, I don't like Carrier in the top 4. I don't think you can win a playoff time with Carrier being one of your top 4. I'd prefer it to be Reinbacher. So if you picked up a Shen, he's not going to be in the top 4. He's going to be the bottom pairing, right?
Of course, yes.
So unless they pick up a guy that can play in their top 4, and that's a notch above Luke Shen. So
yes,
maybe you get a Luke Shen for depth, and you call up Reinbacher, and maybe Shen replaces Carrier, and you have Reinbacher, Shen, and Dobson on the right. But anyway, there's going to, just like with forward, it's more complicated at forward, but just like with the forward group and what these decisions that Kent Hughes and this coaching staff are going to have to make, there's also, it's complicated on defense too right now.
Yes.
I don't think what you see right now is what you're going to get come March 7th, the day after the trade deadline.
No, I agree, and it's difficult too because I don't know what the organizational decision was for Reinbacher. Did they may have decided that he's going to stay in the American Hockey League come hell or high water this year for whatever reason they decide.
Yeah,
and they have an option. It would not surprise me if that was the case. And again, I also circle back to the same thing. There's just not that many players available right now, and there's not going to be with the standings being so tight. And the teams that are going to be selling are going to be asking for the moon because they're going to have 25 suitors for their players. So the Habs might have to work with this, and the thing too with having Carey in the top four come playoff time is that they already have Hudson. I mean, I know Hudson could handle himself really well, and even Carey for his size could handle himself very well, but they could handle themselves well for their size. Um, Come playoff time, when you allow all the hooking in the world and all the slashing in the world, it's your physicality that's going to push you through it. And I don't know, how they're going to be able to manage that lineup. And boy, uh, I think it's a headache that the team has that they're probably talking about quite a lot internally, I would think, because they know now what the playoffs are all about, and the players know what it's all about too. So they're kind of looking maybe at management and say, we kind of need a little something here. And how are you going to be able to pull it out? I don't know how they're going to do that.
Yeah, which brings me back to Reinbacher again and giving him a look. If there are only about 4 or 5 teams selling, or even 6 to 8, that's not a lot, and there's not a lot of options there. So, even if they do pick up a Shen, I would still like to get a look at Reinbacher, because ultimately, I prefer having, if he's ready, I prefer having Reinbacher in the top 4 to carry a come playoff time, even at his young age, because I think he can do it. Can you see Adam Engstrom? He looks too good for the AHL, basically, at this point. But there's not a spot on the Habs at right now. Does he? I have a feeling that he's maybe their main trade chip at this point. Do you get that feeling?
Yes, I absolutely do think that's going to happen, because any team that's going to acquire him is getting a solid prospect that is ready for the NHL. And it's a lot easier to pick up a prospect that's ready for the NHL, because you're also giving your fan base something to look forward to, right? So we gave up a veteran, a very good player. But look, this guy's here. He's playing in our lineup now. You're seeing the potential. It kind of goes over. He fills a roster spot. And as you said, I mean, there's no place for him in Montreal. But if this was 3 years ago, he would have been playing, because Montreal were in a development phase right now. So you could use a guy like that to make the mistakes and to learn the game, where when you get to the point where the games matter, it's a little bit more difficult to put a youngster in the roster sometimes. At times, we've seen that happen with good teams where they have trouble getting a youngster in. But I think Engstrom to me has to be their number one trade bait, and he had a fantastic weekend, a beautiful overtime goal, I think, or game-winning goal at least. And he's noticed, and I've heard that there was a lot of scouts following the Laval Rockets in recent weeks, and I think there's a reason for that. I think he's a player that teams are looking at as saying that this is a guy from Montreal that, if we're looking to give up a veteran, this is a great example. He's a left-handed shot, but he does really well on the right side too, so he kind of fills whatever role you need him to play on your team. And guys that skate like he does and move the puck as well as he does are hard to find. So he's got to be, I think he's the number one guy that the teams are sending. I don't think Montreal are looking to give up a Hage. I think that they really want to keep him. So I think teams are looking at that as being not really a possible option, where they know that Engstrom is definitely somebody they could get, because there's no spot for him in Montreal.
Yeah. And the other, I think, main maybe trade chip as far as young players go, given that they re-signed Beck, well, it's Beck that I'm referring to,
Yeah.
but they re-signed Evans. They picked up Deneau. Kapanen is, definitely proven that he's above Beck at this point in the pecking order on the Canadians.
Right.
There doesn't appear to be an imminent spot for Beck in the lineup right now.
Yeah.
Engstrom, Beck. So they're going to trade Engstrom, Beck in the second for Alexei Lafreniere, aren't they?
No, they're not.
I hope not.
No. Let's not go there now.
Yeah. I just don't, I don't know. And of course, like last night, I go, why am I getting questions, in the live chat about Alexei Lafreniere? Oh, he scored 2 goals tonight. It always, like, whenever a player, gets a goal or something. Oh, we got to get that guy. He scored a goal tonight, or he scored 2 goals. So, you don't make a trade based on the last game the guy played.
Well,
Right?
no, and the Habs don't need that right now. Like, it's not a big need, a scoring winger. Yes, I like to have that on the first line. Yes, no doubt about it. But I'd be looking more shorter term than too long, because you do have a few very good options coming up, right?
Yeah.
No point signing a guy who's signed for another 7 years that you're unsure of, who's gonna, if he doesn't work out, is gonna block somebody else from making the team, and you're stuck with him. I'd rather if they picked up a guy for 2 or 3 years that could do the job, and you kind of give yourself better options, and then that player could either finish his contract or be moved, and then you get another young guy come in, and you free up that cap space. You give yourself that flexibility, and that's what good teams do. They roll players in and out, and they give themselves better option than to just pin yourself to a bunch of guys, and then none of them could be moved. Like a certain team west of Montreal.
Yeah, right. Well, I don't, and there's this factor too, right? I can't see the president of the Montreal Canadiens trading for a guy who ultimately may have been one of the reasons why he got fired in New York, right?
That's a good point too. Yeah, that's very true. That's very, very good point there.
They would know Alexei Lafreniere pretty well.
Yeah.
And given what I've heard about his off-ice work ethic, and I think it's apparent when you see him on ice that it hasn't necessarily been great up to this point in his, like, he's kind of the antithesis of Demidov and Hudson when it comes to that. And are they looking to add that to this group of hardworking, dedicated, wanting to improve players? And that includes Suzuki and everybody else, basically. They already have Line A. You don't need another.
No.
I think they will pass on Alexei Lafreniere.
Of course.
And of course, it's always brought up because former first overall pick, French Canadian, blah, 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 right? But the fact that he was a first overall pick too, they tend to still, even like, it's only been still a few years. It's not like he's 28 and a former first overall pick. He still could get better. New York's going to ask for more than what I think he's worth too, I believe.
Yeah, I do think so. And the thing too with the first overall pick, not every draft is the same. You kind of people compare one draft year to another draft year and say, well, this year this guy's better. This year, well, why isn't he doing the same? It's not the same thing year after year. I don't think, and my memory's not great, but I don't think the Alexis Lafreniere draft year was particularly fantastic in terms of the generally overall. It was okay. I mean, there's some good players, obviously some star players, but he generally was not like a super high level draft, if I recall. It's not he was not slated to be Celebrini. He was not slated to be a McDavid. He was not slated to be any of those guys. So, it's important, but take it with a grain of salt a little bit too, and don't get too caught up with the first overall pick, because it's not necessarily a huge indicator of what the player will do in the future.
Yeah, no, exactly. He, no, well, both him and Byfield, really. There haven't been many drafts with the two top guys picked that have been as underwhelming as those two. You can't name many in the past 15 years.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, but obviously, Will Cooley, people keep mentioning him, but the Rangers are not going to trade Will Cooley. They just, right, your best young player, like Habs fans think, like they look at the trade from the Habs perspective sometimes. Not all Habs fans, but ones that are doing the trades on their PlayStation, as Mark Bergevin used to say.
Yeah,
Where you have to take into consideration if the other team would do it, and
yeah.
Will Cooley makes no sense for the Rangers to. He's part of the rebuild. He'll be part of the rebuild in New York. You don't trade your best young player if you're rebuilding.
No.
You trade him if you're trying to win a cup, like Jerome McGinley being traded to Calgary
Right.
for Joe Nieuwendyk, right? Your
Or
best young player. Well, go ahead.
Or you trade him, kind of like the Doc trade in Chicago, right? Where you take him and you trade him for another top 10, a team that's has a ton of picks and they're ready to take the next step, and they still have a top 10 pick, and they give you a prospect, right? So let's say Chicago draft 8th overall, and they give you, we'll trade you our 8th overall pick and 1 or 2 prospects for a Cooley, but Montreal are not going to be able to give up something like that. That's definitely not.
Yeah, well,
So, and that's a big if too, because most teams again don't want to do that. The player, you're comfortable with the player. If there are no off ice issues or no attitude issues, well, as you said, that's the kind of guy you want to build with. And they got payroll also coming up. You want to give other young players to work with. You can't just trade everybody and then have nothing to work with. So
yeah,
those
well,
are huge ifs, and doesn't really happen. Very rarely.
yeah. Well, Cooley was ahead of Doc as far as value goes. Like
Yeah,
right now, like Doc had been injured and hadn't really produced yet at the
that's true.
NHL level, and
Right.
the Hawks were worse and really trying to blow things up to try to tank to get the. And I don't know that the Rangers are going to completely blow it up. It sounds like it's more of a, they have some good, like some good players and a good goalie and all that stuff. So I think that they're retooling more so than blowing it up type scenario,
Probably.
probably.
Yeah.
And it's tough in New York to be like at the very bottom. I don't think their owner Dolan is
No.
somebody that wants that to ever happen, right?
No.
So I just don't see Cooley being
Right.
someone that
No, I agree. I definitely
that
agree.
Calgary looks like they're one of the teams that are getting rid of they're rebuilding still, and they
Yeah.
got rid of Anderson, but there's more players going to be dealt here. They're one option, I guess. I know some people have been mentioning White Cloud as a possibility. I don't know if they're looking to flip him. Maybe, when you make a trade like that, you usually like the player a lot, and I think they probably keep White Cloud, but Kadri keeps getting mentioned, and I think we've been through that. Neither of us is that high on Kadri as an addition. I don't know how much of an upgrade he is on Kapanen at this point. Certainly in a couple of years, I think Kapanen will be better than Kadri. So
Yeah.
why would you? He's 35 and big contract, like 8 times the salary of Kapanen. I just I don't, and I'm not crazy about his character either. I don't think the Canadians go after Kadri. Do you think that there have been some rumors there?
I don't think there's anything wrong, as we said, looking into it. I would not be interested at that salary. Like if Calgary holds on to a chunk of his salary, I don't mind him as much, because then you say, well, if they hold on to a chunk of his salary, then maybe I'm more comfortable using him on the third line, not on the second line as a replacement to Kapanen, but on the third line. Then maybe you move Daniel down to the fourth line, and then it's a different, more
Yeah.
balanced roster, I think. But they'd have to hold on to some of his salary. I don't want to pay that much for him, and then it depends also on what the offer is, and what you could move him for. So I'm not like giving the farm for him, but I'd be interested if they're holding on to some of his salary to put him on the third line, not on the second.
Yeah. Well, and in that instance, then Evans wouldn't be one of the top 4 centers, which, I mean, hey, he's been a loyal soldier, all that, but the Canadians are a better team now, and I don't know that he has been disappointing on the PK this year. Last year he was very good, but this year he's it continues the struggles. He's been on for 23 goals against, I think, on the PK. And again last night, he left the guy alone right in the slot. It seems like he's puck watching on the PK and not covering guys quite often.
Right.
I mean, that's supposed to be his bread and butter, and if he's struggling on the PK, I don't know. That's the guy that I think in the bottom 6 that you need to upgrade if you're the Canadians and get some size and physicality, replacing him. I keep circling back to Evans. I know some people don't like that because, hey, he's one of the guys that has been around for a lot of years. It's funny. There are people that, are don't want to get rid of Evans, but Gallagher can sit, or Gallagher can get, and he's the real, he's the guy that's been there forever. So,
right.
Anyway, what do you think? Do you think that they might be looking at maybe even Evans, it becomes a trade chip for them going up to the deadline?
I would not be surprised. I mean, sometimes we have to realize you don't necessarily have to trade a player because you don't like him anymore, or he's not useful anymore, or he's not good anymore. Sometimes it's just a fit. You need to move players. As for the fact that, Evans has been here a long time, people like him, he has a family and all that stuff. I mean, I understand all that, but Tampa Bay moved on from Stamkos when they felt it was time, and they moved away from McDonough when they found out it was time. Although they did reacquire him later and signed him, but you got to make decisions sometimes, and it's like, I'm sorry, I'm not looking to. No, it's not a sign of disrespect to have to move you, but the roster needs something different right now. You were really helpful when we needed you now. And that's the lot of a fourth line player, right? A fourth line players often move around because they fill holes. They're not leading your team. They're just filling a role. And you look around in the league, not a lot of fourth line players stay very long from team to team. They move, and it might be time for that to happen. And that was that was part of my point of view with maybe looking into Kadri, if it makes sense, is that everybody falls in a better spot. I think you'd have the two right shot centers, 2 left shot centers, which is not a bad thing, and a little bit better depth scoring. So that would make sense. And if it's Evans, it's got to be Evans, and I have no issues with that. I'm not. It's okay to move him, and it's not a sign of disrespect at all.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, it seems to be coming up awfully quick here, but next bloody weekend, I don't know what you're doing, but I'll probably be watching a bit of Olympics. You're not the flag bearer for Italy, are you?
I should have been, but I decided to step down from that role and give the cat to somebody else, right? And watch my Italian team take over hockey in the world stage there.
Well, let's have a look at the groups here for the tournament. Group A, Canada A is in Group A.
Yeah.
Should have been EH, Group EH. They should have named it. Canada, Switzerland, Czechia, France. The Swiss and the Czechs are never, they won't be pushovers. Switzerland especially, it seems like, in these their national teams, like world championships and such. they never seem to give up a lot of goals, and they're in games, and Habs the Canada should be able to handle France, even with Texier.
Texier could lead that team. There was a little bit of controversy where Bozo was former Habs pick. Tim Bozo was really mad that he was not on the team, but I think they'll get over that drama.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, he's acting like a clown saying that. Bozo the clown. No.
Yeah.
Oh, bad one. Yeah. Well, Czechia got to get revenge on those sons of guns, eh?
Yeah, no, but as you said, they're teams that are really structured. Those teams. The danger is that those teams, if it's tight, even if they're down, if it's tight, they're motivated because wow, we're not supposed to be there. Where teams like Canada, if they're not dominating, some of them start to take chances and push the play. Even if they're winning, it's hard for them to have that patience because I think whether they like it or not, mentally they expect to dominate and they start doing too much. And a lot of these guys just are used to taking the game over for their team, and sometimes in this tournament it's not always possible. So there's always that little danger where if Canada doesn't stay really disciplined and focused on taking it one shift at a time, they could be snake bitten a little bit. So, but I do expect Canada to. They have experienced guys that have been there before, and I think they'll be able to lead the team to a great performance there.
Yeah. Who do you think comes out of that group?
Oh, I got to give it to Canada there. Let's not make things too complicated there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's the round robin format, right? The final round includes 4 qualification playoff games, 4 quarterfinal games, 2 semifinal games, bronze medal, and gold medal games. So I guess presumably what the top 3 teams from each group advance, or
that's the way I think it works.
1D, 2D, 3D, and 4D will receive a bye into the quarterfinals. All right. Okay. So basically everybody, like I have a hard time thinking that Canada won't finish ahead of France.
Yeah, no,
right?
for sure.
So
they will.
They're going to make the and presumably they'll win the I think I as tough as Switzerland can be, the Canada should be able to handle them. Czechs, who knows? They always got better on paper, but Czechs seem to have a way of friggin' burning that paper. But Canada's got to be, that's obvious that they have to be the prohibitive favorite. Group B, Finland and Sweden, they seem to always end up going up against each other, right? They meet at some point in every tournament.
Yeah, rivalry, man. It's the rivalry that never ends.
Yeah. And Cappy against Slav in the opening game of the tournament. I like that. Did you see that interview with the two of them? So you're going to be up against Slav in that first game, Cappy. Kind
of. Yeah. I played with him. I know how tough that could be.
Yeah. Better keep my head up against that guy.
Yeah.
But the Slovaks, I've seen lineups where, first line Slavkovsky, second line Slavkovsky. Like they're not real. There's not a lot of NHL talent there. It's players that are playing in Europe. But you know what? Slovakia, those guys seem to step up in these moments. We've seen it before. And it's because guys aren't playing in the NHL. A lot of them doesn't mean that they're not good players in Europe. And when they're wearing that national flag, they seem to have some extra pep in their step.
They do.
So
They're going to be motivated, and they give it all they have. They make life tough on the opponent. So let's not sell them short for sure.
yeah, but obviously Finland, Sweden, we'd have to say they just too much talent there. Sweden especially.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer that I think it'll be Sweden first, Finland second, Slovakia third.
Right.
And
But Sweden is dealing with a ton of injuries from what I've been seeing, right? They think they got 4 players that are on the bubble right now. That might be a huge cause for concern, especially if there are 2 of them on defense, I believe.
yeah. Well, Finland can beat them.
Yeah.
Definitely. Any team with Miro Heiskanen out there, you just Heiskanen
Yeah.
and Oliver Kapanen, you you don't count them out. But no, Heiskanen play like 35, 40 minutes a game. Like if you're the coach of Finland, it's that's okay. Game plan. Heiskanen 40 minutes, and go from there, right?
Yeah, exactly. He's
Trophy.
phenomenal. Every which way he plays, he's just really great. And Finland is one of those teams that they seem to understand how to play as a team, and they're patient, and they really stick to their system for good or bad. Sometimes it's almost exaggerated where they stick to a very rigid defensive system. But it works in these kind of tournaments because sometimes it's the team that makes less mistakes that wins.
Yeah, for sure. So Sweden typically in round robins are just bellwether, like they always win their group. So it's come playoff time that okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say Sweden, Finland, Slovakia, and sorry Rick, but the Italia, I'd be afraid are just gonna get edged out to make the medal round.
My feelings are hurt, but it's fine.
Who is the best? Who's the top? Who's the sniper on Italy this year? Do you know?
I think they're getting Dino Ciccarelli back on the ice.
Okay, yeah, they didn't even take any Canadians this time, though. Eh? They're
No, they didn't. I don't even know who's on the roster, to be very honest.
no, Pellegrini or something, Marco Pellegrini. I don't know.
Most probably.
Anyway, I think he's probably 45 now or something. Okay, Group C. Now, on the surface, you say, "Oh, geez, easiest possible group for the U.S. here," but you know what? Germany, Latvia, and Denmark, all 3 of those teams, you can't underestimate them. They're all they all step up in these tournaments.
Yeah.
The Danes aren't real deep, but there's some good players on there, and there's some good European players on Denmark. I don't think they'll be an easy out. Germany always plays tough in these tournaments, and same with Latvia. Latvia, they they'll have it's like a home game for Latvia wherever they play because the fans are crazy and come out and support their team. And there's not a harder working team than Latvia. They've shown they've had upsets in the past. So yeah, the US, we're going to pick them to win that. However, I wouldn't be surprised if they lost a game. Now, whether it's against Germany, Latvia, or Denmark remains to be seen. But
Right.
I think it would be kind of fitting if they ultimately end up having a little bit of an issue scoring goals, given that Cole Caulfield, Jason Robertson, and Alex DeBrincat weren't deemed to be good enough
Right.
for the mighty Americans.
Especially if they have a Saturday night game, they're going to really regret not having Caulfield on the
Mr.
ice.
Saturday night. That's right. No,
No,
exactly.
it's a decision that we both disagreed with. I think, unfortunately, because he's smaller and he's a scorer, they think that that's all he could do. But He's a good puck mover. He's a reasonably, he's an adequate defensive player in the sense that he back checks, he gets involved. He doesn't just lay low and dog it. But they made their decision, whether we agree with it or not. But Billy Guerin likes these big guys, and that's what he's looking for. Even though he did acquire a smaller player, huge one, but he wanted a bigger team.
Yeah, no, for sure. Ultimately, here, I mean, if you were to ask me, it's Canada, Finland, U.S., Czech, Sweden. Those are the 5 teams that I think have the best chance to make the semifinals. Right. And no surprise there. One of those 5 don't make it, and a lot will be contingent on what the matchups end up being in the quarterfinals, right?
Right.
Ultimately, there's usually a surprise or two, and there'll be a good team playing a good team, and one of them gets knocked out in the quarterfinals, which is usually the case.
Yeah, and that's going to be intriguing, and we hope it's not Canada, of course.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We certainly do. Okay, well, I'd have to say favorites at this time for the gold medal would be Canada versus U.S. I hope the U.S. loses in the quarterfinals, but hey, that would be there's also a part of me that would like to see that matchup in the final, and a repeat of what we saw in the Four Nations Cup. Who knows who'll be in net for Canada at that point? That will be interesting, but I think they got to go with Logan Thompson as the number 1 guy to start, and we'll see. Who do you think starts in goal?
I think I like Logan Thompson for a tournament that's a little bit longer, and I like that steadiness. It doesn't seem like much, but the pucks behind the net, handling and all that, where Logan Thompson tends to play it a little bit safer, it makes it easier, and you just want somebody to steadily make a save and move and just get the puck moving. So to me, that would be my choice. I prefer Logan Thompson as the Canada starting goalie.
All right, good stuff. Well, we're already up to 50 minutes, and we were talking about, I don't know, maybe we'll only be 30 minutes or something like that. As usual, blah, 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 blah. Let's get to your draft prospect of the week. Is it Donner?
Well, no. Almost.
Blitzen? No. It is Daxon Rudolph.
Big right-handed defenseman from Prince Albert. Here he is he's number 10 in green at the end there. Nice goal, good shot. And he's a great offensive defenseman. 47 games played, 21 goals, 33 assists, 54 points. 3rd in the Western Hockey League behind some guy called Bryce Pickford, I guess, and Jonas Rue, both of them from Medicine Hat. Look, I mean, he just has a sense of where to be. He moves well. Here he is at the point. Though distributes the puck really, really well, and he's got that great shot. His mobility is pretty good, especially considering that he's 6'2", 200 pounds. Really nice, again, puck movement there. He hides his intentions well. You're never really sure what he's going to do, but here he is. Again, I think there's going to be a bit more puck movement again. Rotates. And he's just going to get the puck there and move, a little shifty move, passes it. And he's always at the right spot. He's always understands where to go. Again, drives the player to him and then moves it at the last second, leads to a nice opportunity there. He just does it all for a very good Prince Albert team. He's used for a lot of minutes. Shorthanded, or obviously power play where he's really great and gets the puck in deep. He's really, really quick in his puck management decision. Here he goes again. No, stops, starts, moves, always finds a way to get openings. That's what I think that he does really, really well. Uh, Here he is again, little shifty move, comes in, gets a shot off, hits the net with great, great regularity.
Yeah. I don't think like there's a lot of question about, he's got some offensive upside for sure.
Yeah.
At times there's questions about the defensive end of things.
Right.
His decision making, puck outlet passing, positioning, all that. How have you found that with him, Rick?
Oh, that's where we're going to get into it a little later. There,
Okay.
you're going to see some mistakes. I had some computer problems, but I had like a few games from November, and I at one point I think I counted 5 breakout passes that were intercepted at the blue line in one game for Dax and Rudolph, which was really a lot. And there
Okay.
is a lot of questions about his puck management decision under pressure defensively, and it's going to lead to a goal later on. I questioned that part. The other part I also question a little bit is, although he moves the puck really well, he doesn't have that dynamic speed when it comes to his pivots and going backwards. There, I saw was a little bit iffy when it comes to generating speed.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of stuff he gets away with at the lower level, but that dynamic quickness to make plays here, I think, is where he's going to make a really a big mistake. Here he comes. He kind of right at the middle,
Okay.
leads to a big turnover, and then the whole team starts to scramble. He doesn't take his man very as well as he could have on the side there. Puck's going to come back, and boom, there's a goal. He does that too often, I find, for my taste. And that's probably the reason why I feel that although everybody sees him as a top 10 pick, I think if I did my own rankings, I don't know if I'd put him necessarily in the top 10 for that reason. I think that when he's going to take on teams that are really quick and at a higher level and more experience, his his decision making and and again his puck management is going to cause him problems. And I think some coaches are going to really struggle with how to use him properly. And I also don't know just how productive you'll be at the next level. I think a lot of the things he manages to accomplish now is because he's playing at a lower level. He's a big body, and I think he uses that to his advantage a lot. But when he's going to take on other guys that are as big as he is, I have some questions. I think it's going to be hard to figure out a role on him. So again, is he going to be in the top 10? He's going to be around there, near number 10, I think, and come draft day. But I think for me, if I did my personal rankings, I think I'd have him more at around 15 to 20, in my opinion. And I think that maybe I'm a minority to think that, but that's my point of view on Dax and Rudolph, because, man, as you know, Grant, decision making under pressure, hockey sense, those are things that are a little bit harder to fix than other things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know, like in competitions that he's been in, I was a little lukewarm. NHL scouts were a little lukewarm on the defensive play and the decision making, and like you say, needing work on his pivots and his mobility in general. I noticed that the offensive highlights that you were showing were predominantly power play.
Yeah.
I just had a look there, and that's apologies for having that frozen there for a bit because I was looking at some stats, but he has 27 of his points, which is the 4th most in the WHL, are on the power play. So he's exactly half of his points this season are on the power play. So even strength points, aren't fantastic at 27 for the year, which tells me that, hey, he might be. Do you think he has first power play potential? I guess that would be what you have to try to sort out.
Yeah, I don't think so myself. I not at the higher level, again, because he gets a lot of times against smaller guys, and they give him a lot of space because of his size. But that's an advantage that won't last very long as he goes on to the rest of his career. So there's questions on Dax and Rudolph, in my opinion. That's why I said personally, I see him more maybe in the 15 to 20 range in my personal rankings. Although I don't think he's going to go quite that low come draft day.
Well, the point totals are impressive, and he's got decent size, and PA's a good team, and he's plus 19, so he's hasn't been terrible as far as being on the ice for goals against this year. And I mean, there's always a premium on defensemen, right? What I noticed there too, he kind of rose a little bit on the. He's almost like a forward on the power play there at times, eh? He's sort of all over, which
He pitches in a lot. I will give him credit though when he pinches. Most of the time, he's pretty good at judging what he can and can't do when he pinches. He's not so bad for that. Just offensively, again, it's puck management. It's also there's I was hoping to get a better shot of it, but he was not very good on the TV. But there's also a little bit of hesitation sometimes when it comes one-on-one play. So the gap becomes not great when he's playing against players, and that causes him to lose positions once in a while. So those are some of the areas of concern that are not easy to correct. That'll take work. But again, I see a team taking a chance on him because he does have intriguing tools physically and athletically and in terms of individual skills. And teams are going to be intrigued by that.
Yeah, for sure. And he shoots right. So 6'2" right defenseman. Very high pick in the WHL Bantam draft.
First overall.
Well, you can't get much higher than that. I thought it was first, but
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good.
What I said wasn't incorrect. I went safe on it. I thought he was first.
Like I usually do, right? I tend to be more conservative and safe.
And so, I mean, if a team thinks, hey, he can be on our power play, I think ultimately he looks like maybe a second pairing right D would be, what are you, like a 4, and maybe if it all works out, a 3, a number 3.
If he could correct those puck management mistakes, but I think it's going to be, let's say, I think he's the kind of guy that's going to see some time in the American Hockey League. You really got to bring him in slowly and give him a lot of preps to be able to, just be able to aim next level.
Yeah. Well, Daxon, friends, that's a good looking prospect. Little inside joke between me and Rick there. Before we go to the Habs prospect of the week, Rick, you recognize that fella right there?
The great Yvan Cournoyer.
Yes. Yvan went to Logs End to get his flooring for his beautiful home in the Montreal area, and he couldn't have been happier with the results. Logs End is a West Quebec company that takes logs out of the Ottawa River and turns them into beautiful go visit their site if you get an opportunity at logsend.com. And if you like what you see, and I think you will, get in touch with them. Tell them that Grant and Rick from HabsCast sent you, and they will look after you, all of your needs. All right, Rick.
Beautiful stuff.
You know what time it is, eh?
Yes, sir. I can't wait.
It is time for the Habs prospect of the week. And we went with the little guy, Le Petit Pittsburgher.
They're trying to work at 3. Morrissey trying to get it out front. That's intercepted, cleared to the line, and not out. Badgers hold it in.
All right, you be quiet. LJ Mooney. On the weekend here, Rick, he had a good showing. Goal and an assist. Well, Minnesota wasn't ranked going into the weekend, and they proceeded to beat the number 8 ranked Wisconsin in back-to-back games. And LJ was a big part of that. He had 4 points on the weekend, goal and 3 assists, 2 points in each game. And this is the game from Friday night. Now, he has as the year has gone on, there's a nice spin around. He's got beautiful edges, eh?
Yeah, fantastic.
Really good edges. As the year has gone on, here he is. He threw 2 or 3 hits in this game, which I like to see. But as the year's gone on, he's played more and more at center. Bobby Motzko has entrusted him, and he plays him on the PK quite a bit too. He's averaging 58 seconds a game on the PK, which surprised me when I looked at him earlier in the year because I didn't really think that he size, he kind of gets overwhelmed by size. There he drew a penalty. But he Motzko was the coach of the World Juniors. There's his goal of the World Junior team. And we'll just have another look at this. So he drew the penalty, right? And then scores the goal.
Oh, wow.
He's more noted for his playmaking than his shot, his goal scoring. But as you can see by this, and you'll get the better replay here, it's a pretty good shot. He unloaded it here. Ding! Short side. Beat the goalie with a nice one. So he does have some goal scoring ability as well. He prefers the pass. And there again, takes out the player, right? So he's got a little bit there's some spunk there. I just find and there again, so there was 2 hits on the one play. He finishes his checks, but I just find like against bigger guys in his own zone, he's kind of overwhelmed at times. I don't see him being a penalty killer, as he goes along here. I think Minnesota is just not that good, and Motzko doesn't feel that he's got a lot of other options, but he does utilize that speed at times, and you'll see it later on where he gets an assist on a shorthanded situation, right? So I think Motzko said, well, he can kind of be dangerous in that regard where he'll get the odd point, but as far as him, there was a nice rush. And again, he battles pretty good. Got the look at this. So good battle, When he doesn't have the puck, he's pretty effective as far as his battle goes and stuff. But I find him, there's a little bit of Desharnais in him where he kind of, for a guy that's as fast as he is, he sort of likes to hang and not come back. And if you're playing center, I can do that. There we go. There's a nice. We'll bring that back a bit. I'd like to see him spend a little more time on the back check, but here was the assist.
Good.
Nice shot in. So he had a goal and assist and was pivotal in this win. And here he is on shorthanded. Check this out. He grabs the puck and good wheels, eh?
Oh wow.
He's one of the best skaters in college hockey as a freshman. I you know who he reminds me of a little bit is Matt Naslund.
Oh wow, yeah.
That
shiftiness.
Yeah, the speed, the shiftiness, the the vision that he has, the ability to create stuff just from using that friggin' speed of his, right?
Yeah.
But if there is a former Hab that I would say that there is some similarity to, for me, it'd be the Le Petit Viking. So that's why I called him the Le Petit Pittsburgher. Here he is on the back check. Hey, if he could turn out to be half the player the Matt Naslund was, he wouldn't be a trade chip. The Habs will end up finding a spot for him in the lineup. But
for sure. Yeah, yeah.
I
No,
would
there's a lot
say,
to like there.
oh, look at this, the steal, eh? So he's pretty good at stealing pucks, and that's
Yeah.
why I guess he's on the PK, even if, like I say, he does get overwhelmed a bit. And here he is again. He kind of coasts back a little bit. For a guy as fast as he is, I don't see intense back checking from him.
Right.
And but there again, like, he's working. His work ethic away from the puck defensively has improved quite a bit already this year. I think Coach Motzko's getting through to him in that regard. Here he is getting the puck out. So that was my biggest concern with him, and I've seen quite a bit of improvement. Motzko used him. I mean, and this is as an 18-year-old just drafted in the World Junior team, utilized him as his main penalty killer on the World Junior team, which surprised me.
Yeah.
5-on-3s, he was the guy out there. So look at the he's got really good edges.
Yeah.
Didn't end up fighting through all the way on that one, but you do like his quickness and edges. And here again, he's uses that speed, gets it up. He's out there with the empty net. So his coach loves him. Wait till next year. He'll probably play. He's averaging about 17 minutes a game this year. Next year, he'll likely be a 20-minute-a-game guy in Minnesota. Yeah. I think he'll play probably 3 years, I would suspect. 3 years at here he is last night. This is on the PK.
Oh boy.
So
wow.
We'll just back that up again, but look at the anticipation here of the pass. Beautiful interception.
Quickness.
Nice play. That was that little shake and bake that he did there.
Yeah.
Who's that remind you of? Okay, we'll just run this one more time. When he gets it, this here.
A little bit of Lane there.
A little bit of Hudson in there.
Yeah, a little bit of Lane there.
Yeah. And then here's his other assist on so he's kind of the main guy on the special teams of this, so we got a point on the penalty kill and on the power play last night. So 2 more assists last night. He was a driving force in Minnesota, defeating Wisconsin twice this weekend, a top 10 team. Minnesota probably, after those wins, will be back in the rankings somewhere, I would think, after beating Wisconsin twice in a row. Plays with Brody Ziemer. They'll be really good college players next year, and they play on the same line. Ziemer, both like 2 freshmen that coming in. I like what I see from him. There is, like, everything goes well, everything goes right. Possibility he's a second line center. Possibility. I think he's going to be on the wing. I don't see the back checking being good enough and being able to handle size down low, especially top two lines. So he's likely destined to be a winger. I would say probably third line, but somebody that can kind of like a smaller version of Newhook, but with maybe even more speed and dangle and play and a lot better playmaking ability. So I don't know if he'll have a spot on the Canadiens in the future. However, you can get away with having a smaller guy on your third line if you've got big guys with him.
Yeah.
If he brings the speed and offensive ability to make that line a pain in the ass, if his defense is good enough and he competes, looks like he competes pretty hard for the most part. Maybe down the line he can carve out a third line role with the Canadians, I think.
Yeah.
But ideally playoff time, you think you want more size, and perhaps much like Engstrom, Mooney is a desirable trade chip for the Canadians in the future.
Right.
It's sort of one or the other. The Canadians are just going to be so strong in the top 6. I don't think, I have a difficult time seeing him being ahead of Zurowski and Hage down the road.
No, for sure.
So it'll be bottom 6, playmaking, shift disturbing, speedy winger that can pop the odd goal. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on what you've seen from Mooney since he was drafted, Rick?
Wow. I'm a huge proponent. I've said this before of players, improving on their weaknesses and showing a willingness and a capacity to do that, because that's a difference maker in a sense, right? A lot of these kids have talent at 17, but not NHL talent, and they have to work on things. The fact that he's being used on the penalty kill and he seems to be embracing that role. I've seen him, try to block shots, try to get in the way, finishing his checks. That tells me that he sees an opportunity to work on something that he needs to be better at, which is, his play without the puck. And there has been huge improvements. I love the comment you made about him being on the wing. I think was spot on. I could see him being, if he continues to work on his defensive game and his anticipation with that speed, I could see him being a bit of a nightmare for the players at the point, right? Because he's going to force them to back off a lot. They won't be able to handle that speed, that shiftiness, and so it's going to limit what the opponent could do. And that's where I like when a player could use his defensive play to create offense, and that to me is what he could do. And he's got that swagger, he's got that willingness to get his nose dirty. It's a bunch of great clips that really should make Habs fans very happy, because he's showing signs of doing what needs to be done to find a role in the NHL, and that's just awesome.
Yeah. Well, I think he will play in the NHL. He's just too fat, like too dynamic, too speedy, too skilled. Not, and I think that as those clips show, there is some competitiveness there. He's just going to have to keep getting more consistent with that. He's 45% on draws. Not terrible, not great. Again, it points towards him being a winger, I think, at the NHL level. Ultimately, there are not many 5'7" centers in the NHL for a reason, and just down low, he's not going to be able to handle the Barkovs of the world and stuff. Right. I just don't see it. But he's good. He's a good pickpocket. He can steal pucks at the blue line, like you say, and typically the defensemen are being covered by the wingers, right, in the offensive zone. Yeah. So, and that pickpocket that you did see on the shorthanded point, he was on the wing when he did it, right, and so yeah, I'd like his. His ultimate upside would be second line winger, I guess, if everything went well. But I don't know if that would be in Montreal, but in the NHL, I think he's got second line upside. So
for sure,
for a 4th round pick, that's a nice that's a nice upside. So
fantastic.
The Canadians said, I would have loved to have been in the meetings, but I'm sure it was brought up to say, hey, look at Cole Caulfield and what he's accomplished, right? As a 5'8" winger at the NHL level. This guy can't score like Caulfield, but a lot of similarities in just how quick and edge work and dynamic with the puck and all that stuff. Why not take a chance on him in the 4th round? By the 4th round, frig.
I can
You've
believe it.
got
I think
about
I
a
had him in my top. I think I had him at 40 in my snap rankings, or 45 in that area. So I was really happy that they got him in the fort.
yeah. That's pretty high. Did you have him ahead of Schmidt?
Oh boy, that's a good question. I think I had him just below, but I didn't have Schmidt super high, to be honest with you. So
No, I had Benak was my top little guy. I had
yeah,
Benak.
it's
I
a
had
good one.
Benak.
It's a good one.
He's pretty good too. But Mooney, you know, he's even a little smaller than those two guys, I think. So that part of it kind of scared me off a little bit. And the NHL guys, I knew, from talking to them that he wasn't going in the top 2 rounds.
Okay.
Actually, when I talked to them about Hudson, they didn't have him in the top 2 rounds either, but most of these guys. So scouts can be a little hard-headed. Takes a while to get through. There are exceptions to the rule, right? Like I think Benak's going to make it somehow.
Yeah.
Despite his size, I think, and I think this guy will too. He's just, he may be the best skater in college hockey, if not the best, but close to it as a freshman. And that alone, if you've got decent smarts, playmaking ability, a competitive edge, I think will get you at least a decent look at the NHL level. And I hope you can make it someday.
I couldn't agree with you more, Grant. That's as usual a great find for Habs fans, and they should appreciate all the work that you did putting those clips together.
Okay, stop it. I'm not sending you any more. I'm not sending you any more money this week, Rick. Okay, buddy. Listen, kept you overtime here. I know you got to take Barney to the doctor. I hope that goes well, and I'll give him a hug and kiss from me. Okay.
For sure, buddy.
Okay, thanks, Rick, and we'll. I don't know if you're available after, but I'll ask this week, the Monday, and I don't know when do they play Thursday? Do you know?
I don't even remember, to be honest.
Okay.
I can't remember.
Winnipeg, probably Wednesday. They usually, it's like 2 days. They never give them 3 days when they're on the road. It's weird. Okay. Anyway, we'll see if maybe we can't get you on for a post-game show this week before the Olympics. And
absolutely would love that.
Are you going to watch you're going to watch Canada in the Olympics there?
If I'm gonna take a day off work if I have to, but no, for sure. I really want to watch those games. It's always fun hockey. Just no matter which game you watch, it's always good hockey. So I'll definitely watch.
Well, we might get you, to comment on the game post game.
Awesome.
I'm going to do post games on the Canada games for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So should be fun. Thanks, Rick. Have yourself a great day.
Thanks, Grant.
Okay. There was our show, folks. They play Wednesday, Winnipeg. And then 22 days off, 26th of February before they play their next game. Wow. Middle of February, 22 days without seeing the Habs play. Good thing Canada better not get knocked out in the first in the preliminary rounds. They'll be jonesing for our hockey fix. Thanks for Rick coming on again, as always, on Sunday. He had to take his dog Barney to the vet at 12:30, so we did it fairly early. There are a bit of similarities in their speed, size, obviously, puck skills. Mats Naslund and LJ Mooney, he's not in Mats Naslund's class. I mean, Naslund was a 100-point scorer, and don't see that ever being the case for LJ Mooney, but as far as any Habs prospects since Mats Naslund played, I would say Mooney is the closest thing to Mats when it comes to just just a comp on their size, skill, speed. He's such a nice skater, and he's fun to watch. I enjoy watching LJ Mooney. I do, as I said there, I do think he will play in the NHL, and that he will be an exciting player to watch. If it's with Montreal, I could see him becoming a crowd favorite without question. Donnie McCaskill was kind enough. My first donation in February comes from Don, $10. This month, obviously, going to be really stretched to hit the 2,000 mark from YouTube. I may not even hit 1,000 this month, though. I think with there only being about five Habs games this month, but we'll see. I'll certainly be doing a lot of, I'll still be doing regular shows. I'm going to get interviews with personnel, Habs prospects, coaches, and GMs, and media members, and I'm going to cover the Olympic tournament as much as I can. I hope most of you will be following it like I will be, and it should be a lot of fun to do so. Had a fellow there come on and inform me that not revealing who I was talking about is clickbait. No kidding, buddy. Sorry, I want people to come and watch the show. So every now and then you give a teaser. I mean, why complain about that? It's free. Did it cost you? Does it cost you anything to watch? No. So, I mean, everyone else does it, right? We're trying to attract people here at no cost. Like, I could see, okay, well, we're trying to get you to spend $10 to watch this show. Then yeah, it's clickbait. But when it's free, like, come on, complain about that. Anyway, Bob Graton says hello. Pretty good after yesterday's win. Yes, sir. Bob Trask came on and let the cat out of the bag about I had to delete his comment about I'm guessing that it's LJ Mooney. Well, don't, what's the point of having clickbait if it gets the cat is out of the bag right away? So Bob got his next comment deleted. Come on, Bob, follow the program, my friend. Actually, Bob should be hopefully getting I will hopefully be getting an article from him again soon. Hint, hint. Last one was great, by the way. Bob writes on my Patreon page, so good stuff. Feels good to not see the Leafs in there. Yeah, I know, eh? You look at the Atlantic. Leafs, I decided not to even have them. Well, they didn't even make the list here, so poor Leafs, eh? they weren't relevant enough to include. Just for fun here, here's the Habs schedule for the rest of the year. Minnesota, obviously, they've had issues with beating them in the past, but they actually beat them this year, so maybe things will swing the other way and they'll start beating Minnesota all the time. But before the Olympic break, they go to Minnesota, Winnipeg. Then, right after they come back, last year after the Four Nations Cup, the Habs went on quite a run. Well, here's hoping they can do the same thing. I wouldn't say that they're like, when you look at it here, Islanders, Capitals, Sharks, Ducks, Kings, Leafs, Senators, Sharks, Ducks, Bruins. That's a run of 10 games where they're playing teams. None of those 10 teams are above them in the standings. So you would think that they stand a decent chance. 6 of those games are at home. So here's hoping, and I mean it's plausible that they get 13, 14 or more points out of a possible 20 in those 10 games. I don't think that's an unreasonable expectation, and if they can, at that point, they'll have solidified a spot pretty well, I think. If they've got like a 14-point lead on the 9th place team, I think what's left, about 18 games, they've got it. They've got a playoff spot sewed up. So I think things look good for the Canadians as far as making the playoffs, I do believe. Then after that is Detroit, Islanders, Hurricanes, Blue Jackets, Preds. So again, even, one team out of the first 15 that they face after the Olympic break is ahead of them in the standings. Like Detroit is, not by percentage wise. They've got one more point, but win percentage wise, not one of those. Carolina is the only team that's ahead of them win percentage wise, and it's not by much. So who knows, maybe even by the time they're playing Carolina in that 13th game, maybe the Habs are ahead of them in win percentage at the time, and they end up not playing a team that's ahead of them in the standings for 15 straight games after they come back. So if you go by who's favored, right? The Habs coming back from the Olympic break have a pretty cozy schedule. So let's hope that they take advantage of that. This year they've lost games that they were expected to win and won games that they were expected to lose. So who knows? But we will see. The Norris race has taken a strange turn. Werenski and Bouchard are now the top scorers. Hudson is equal to McCarr. Yeah. And McCarr, wasn't great defensively the other night either, was he? McCarr kind of, when media folks get on this guy. Like, you knew Lidstrom was going to win the Norris every year regardless. You kind of got that feeling right now with McCarr that it's his to lose unless, one of those guys finishes 15 points ahead of him in points or more. Bouchard is still, did you see the goal against the other night, yesterday? Faber absolutely walked him. Like, Bouchard is not as good defensively as McCarr. And for that reason, he'd have to get quite a few more points than Kel McCarr to finish ahead of him in the voting. Werenski, the wild card. Hudson, hey, it'd be nice if he finished ahead of McCarr in points, right? McCarr has been relatively normal in the past month, and Tina and I both know that well because we've got him in the pool and he's killing us. Just read that the Oilers waived Calvin Pickard. Oh, okay. Well, maybe he ends up in Pittsburgh after they trade Skinner, eh? Nas? Just kidding, buddy. Snark was asking me, interested in perspective on how Reinbacher is progressing. Well, he's not progressing right now. He's injured, but progression's been fine. We got to be patient with him. And Snarky was mentioning that, a couple of personalities on another podcast were saying that he's plateaued. I mean, come on. He's 21 years old. He hasn't played 100 games in North America yet. He come back from serious injury last year. That's the wrong term to describe David Reinbacher, if indeed it was said. No, he's progressing just as expected. You know, he's not tearing up the AHL in points, but that's not what the Canadians are going to need him for at the NHL level. Is he still learning some things? Sure, but the size, skating, puck moving, positioning, one-on-one defending, I love it, all of it, and I see a top four right defenseman that will play in all defensive situations very, very soon for the Habs. I think he's very promising and will be good at playoff time. He'll help them win in the playoffs in the future. If not this year, next year on. Sabre fan here. I have loved all 4 games we played this season. I'm looking for 7 more. Yeah, well, hopefully in the division final, right? I don't know. I prefer that Montreal didn't face Buffalo in round 1. I hope Buffalo makes it, and a lot of the Hab fans on here feel that way too, Pablo. But I'd rather face, like, I don't know, Boston, Detroit than I would Buffalo at this point. I don't know that the Canadians match up particularly well against them. Friggin' Tage Thompson seems to have their number. Real controversy in France is not on Bozo. It's the Bozon. It's the selection of a player who had been banned for abuse and excess violence in games and pushed it so far he nearly ended a goalie's career. Well, many fans here in France are so pissed they won't support the men's team, shifting support to the women's. Yeah, okay. You'll find a welcome crowd here. We wish success to Buffalo. Yeah, this is to the Buffalo fan. Toronto can suffer for 100 years, though. Pretty much. Boo Leafs. I'm off. Amen, Francois. Boo Leafs. Boo. Yeah. You ain't going to find too many Sabres fans that cheer for the Leafs. And people talking about the easy group. Yeah. As I mentioned there, don't sleep. Like, Germany won a medal last time around, did they not? Or did they almost won the gold? Yeah, it wasn't great teams. Everybody sent their best, but that included Germany, and they almost friggin' won it. They play tough in these tournaments. And if you get a good goalie, hot goalie, I mean, just about any team has as good a goaltending group as Canada's. Hellebuck seems to, for whatever reasons, when it comes to these tournaments, he's not exactly when it comes to the playoffs and big games, hasn't always stepped up. So we'll see. Darlene, yeah, he's a hell of a He's a hell of a player. Pablo was mentioned, and Kesselring cost the game last night. Yeah, Doc got the puck away from him, but Doc's a big boy, and I mean that could have happened to any defender. Sometimes you got to give credit to the, Doc with his reach. He made a really nice. He's got good hands, and he big boy and got it. He could have done that to any defenseman. I do like Kesselring, and I think, Buffalo's defense. That's one of the reasons why I don't like the matchup for the Habs. They've got a bunch of towering blue liners back there. Yeah. See what else we can. We'll get to a few more comments here. I won't keep it much longer. 80 minutes with Rick. Now another hour and 40 minutes here. So pretty much all my Sunday's been gone here, folks. So if you don't mind, I won't go too much longer. Defensemen don't plateau at 21. No. Well, come on. Thomas Harley, were people saying, well, he's plateaued at 21 because he was playing in the AHL? I mean, come on. Big European defensemen typically aren't playing in the NHL at 21 years of age. In fact, 90% of them aren't. Where's David Juracek? Juracek, top 10 pick. He's not playing yet. Yeah. Brought up about going after Anthony Mantha. I'm not the biggest Anthony Mantha fan. But I really don't see. It doesn't make sense for me, Pittsburgh, to be trading. He's going to be UFA, but he's making $800,000 or whatever. They got a 40-point scorer making $800,000, so he's not hurting their cap. They're in the playoffs, right? Crosby's not going to be happy if you trade a 40-goal scorer or a 40-point scorer because he's making $800,000 or whatever. Crosby, if they make the playoffs, Crosby wants to win. And so I don't see them trading a couple of guys just because they're UFAs. Montreal, to be, hey, the East is wide open this year. Anything can happen, I think. Good point by Francois here. Norris race has taken a strange turn. Renski and Bouchard are now top scorers. It's weird, eh? I do not think we should make a major trade giving up future prospects for a process that is showing great results. Yeah. Well, they're not going to get rid of a bunch of. I've heard that WHL is watered down, which has inflated Pickford numbers. What's that from Leaf fans? This division is a bear. Sabres are scary. Absolutely. It was mentioned. Oh, well, if it was mentioned, then it's got to be true, right? Reinbacher is not untouchable, and his name is out there. Well, if it's been mentioned, then take it to the bank. I don't know. Look, the Habs picked him 5th overall. And they've never played him a game in the NHL yet. Name a player that picked top 5 that never played a game for an NHL game for a team before he was picked. It's a pretty short list. They love him. Trust me, they love him. They're just not. They're not rushing him into the lineup, and good for them. Do I think the Habs will make a move at the deadline? Oh, for sure. Thomas Harley is having a very poor year this year, to be fair. 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 You can maybe tell that I really like the to be fair. To be fair. To be fair. Excuse me a sec. I just I'm looking up a little something here. So we're looking at the Olympics here coming up. To be fair, Jay, Thomas Harley was picked for Canada's Olympic team. So you think, like, to be fair, do you think Doug Armstrong saying, well, he's having a very poor year? Do you think all of the guys involved in Hockey Canada would classify Thomas Harley as having a very poor year? He's 23, 24 years old, and he's playing for Canada's Olympic team on defense. Like, if Reinbacher at 24 is, deemed to be good enough to play on an Olympic team like Canada, I'll take that. I'll take that poor year from David Reinbacher. Jay, you always got to get a couple of comments in here. You just can't help yourself, eh? Love you to death, buddy. Hockey night in Canada was hysterical yesterday. They realized the Leafs are out of it, and they talk about the Leafs like it's their dead grandmother. They're so sad. Oh, the poor Leafs. Yeah, okay, Jay. Just gonna ignore you. You're not getting the point, right? Thomas Harley has turned into a top 3 defenseman on a top 2 NHL team. You can say that he's having a poor year all you want. You can say, oh, well, Doughty, this, like, I'm not going to argue with you. Grant, do you think the Habs will make a move at the deadline? If so, who should they target? Yeah. They will make moves. And I talk about this every show, my friend. We talked about it. We talked about it during this show. Why don't you go back and, if you don't mind, watch it? Because we probably spent a good 15 minutes going over who we think that the Canadians might target. And if you watch last show, the show before that, probably the last 15 shows, there's been discussions on who the Habs might target. So I'd rather not repeat it if that's cool with you. And we'll Elliot was so sad the Leafs were settlers. Hockey Night Canada was just a joke. They can't talk about the Leafs anymore. Oh, they talked about how reaffirmed. That was the lead of the second intermission. The Leafs, Matthews and the Leafs getting together to reaffirm. Well, he's got 2 years left on his contract. What's there to reaffirm? Do you like me still? Yeah. Do you like me still? Yeah. Somebody said they renewed their vows. That was well put. Like, come on. That's your lead news story to start the second period? Leafs, right? maybe it's been asked many times, who are my untouchable prospects? Well, untouchable ones, eh? Whew. I don't know that there's any untouchable. Like, for instance, it depends, Don. If Sidney Crosby miraculously became available, I would trade any one of those guys for Crosby. So I guess none are untouchable, but which ones would I be highly reluctant to trade? Page and Reinbacher and Fowler, I guess. Jurowski and Pickford again. If it would depend on the player, but if it was someone that I think could help them contend seriously for the next few years, I, it wouldn't be willing, but I would part with those two. So, and same with Hage. Reinbacher, Fowler, I'd like to keep because I think they can be serious parts of a cup winner. I think that might be the case with Hage and Zurowski too, and perhaps Fowler. Fowler's a bit more of a wild card, but he does look like he could potentially be a 20-goal NHL defenseman, and that's something nice to have in your lineup too. So, but yeah, certainly of all the other prospects, Don, those are the five, that would be at the top for me. As you better make me a hell of an offer if you're going to get me to part with those guys. To be fair, sorry, I'm not. I will continue to rail against "to be fair." I don't like that saying. To be fair, Dovis is not being sent down during the break. He'll be on vacation getting some sun. Yes, he will. What are the five most exciting teams in your opinion? Where does Tampa and Florida rate? Oh, you're kind of catching me off there. I'd have to. I can't even think of the 32 teams off the top of my head. So, Montreal, Colorado, Carolina, all very exciting teams. You could maybe throw Tampa and Florida in there too. Edmonton and Tampa. There's five. Hockey Night in Canada is so sad. The Leafs are losing. Reinbacher can still be good for the Habs. Owen Power picked first overall, only had 15 points before last night's game. Yeah. It's not going to be all about points with Power. I think that was even people kind of said that when he was first picked too, that he's not necessarily going to be a high points guy at the NHL level. Anyone know where I can find archived 2026 games? I'd like to rewatch some of this year's games. Klapka, yeah. Again, young guy, right? I doubt. Doesn't make sense for Calgary to be getting rid of a promising young big player. Would you trade for Wallstedt? Sure, but again, I don't see Minnesota wanting to get rid of him. Future looks so bright for this team. Imagine the guys we have coming down the pipeline and how much that will give Hugo so many options in the future. I know, eh? That's a good point, Paul. I like Mooney, Rohrer too. Roar's fallen off somewhat this year. I've been disappointed he didn't make a step. He did last year for sure. This year, he's been. I don't see an improvement. There's something going on in that team too. Mark Crawford, since he left, Roar hasn't quite been the same. San Jose, oh, there you go. See, again, you're catching me just off the top of my head. I don't know. There's lots of exciting teams in the NHL. There aren't many that aren't exciting. Whoever's in a game going overtime, that's the most exciting team that day. Habs and Sabres both have 7 30-point scorers. Only 2 teams have 8. Don't know. I think, as you can probably tell, I'm after 3.5 hours of straight of doing this, that I may need a break, folks. Donnie, thanks for the contribution. Looks like this month's going to be a little quiet in that regard. I only got one person in making a contribution. Last year on January 1st, I think I probably had about $200 after the first day. So we're behind last month's pace, that's for sure. Thank you, buddy. You've been super generous to me over the past few months. Hey, we've only been doing this 4 months, right? 31 hat tricks in the month of January is something special. Yeah. Toronto and Washington. Yeah, well, they've got depth scoring, but not necessarily a lot of guys having career years, right? Like, they don't have guys. Where's that 50 pace Marner guy? Right? The thing that's cool about the hat tricks in January, Cole Caulfield with 13 goals, second highest, tied for the second most ever by a Habs player, with Howie Morenz and Guy Lafleur. 13 for number 13. 13 goals in the month of January. Obviously, the 13 by Morenz would have been impressive because I'm sure he didn't play nearly as many games as Cole Caulfield. One of the reasons why Cole scored so many is because they must have played 15, 16 games this month, but still, regardless, that's a hell of an impressive number. Guy Lafleur holds the all-time record for the Habs. No surprise, with 15 1 January. I'm not sure which January it was, but if I were to take a guess, it'd been the year that he scored 60. And hey, anytime that you're on a list where you tie Guy Lafleur as an all-time best mark in Montreal, you had yourself a hell of a month. But not good enough to garner a invite for the U.S. Olympic team. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that Slav is on pace for that. I can have another look at that, but he on pace to beat the Habs record for most points before 22 years old. Yet, how many times over the past 4 years have you, he's a bust, trade him, he'll never be more than a 60-point scorer, Why didn't they pick Cooley? All that stuff. Funny, we haven't seen too many remarks from the website there, or sorry, the official account of the, was it the Coyote or like Utah? When they're trolling about Logan Cooley, should have been the first overall pick. You can make the argument, but I don't know. I'll keep Slav, thank you. Could I even pick an MVP for the Habs this year? Ooh. Well, yeah, I could pick several, but like I know what you're saying, like Hudson, Suzuki, Caulfield, Dobish have all been really solid. Dobson, Matheson, Slav, like all would be nominated, but I probably would lean towards Lane right now. Averaging as many minutes as he is, tied with McCarr in points. I mean, would you have predicted that before the season started? What's he averaging in ice time? That's, to me, the real, plus 17 while playing 23-43 a night. He was even on the PK last night. But 47 assists in 55 games. Absolutely phenomenal what he's achieved so far. And consistent too. How many poor games has he had this year? Not very many. It's phenomenal. But I mean, you could make a strong argument for Suzuki. Cole being on pace for 48 goals, like that's pretty phenomenal too. Top 22 in scoring. But with Suzuki being top 10 in scoring and I would have to say Hudson or Suzuki, and I would lean towards Hudson. Give me your thoughts on that, folks. That Utah themselves take Slav over Cooley now, maybe. Dosh is closing in on Wallstead for best rookie goalie this year. Yeah. No, I mentioned that last night, Francois. He's got to be in the top 10 discussion again for rookie of the year. The Habs could have 3 in the top 10 in voting. Not really fair to Thomas Harley, is it? Thomas Harley's a hell of a defenseman. I wouldn't say he's been very poor this year. Frig, he's just a kid. Made Team Canada. He's solid. Is he great every night? No, but geez. I'll take that very poor defenseman on my team any day of the week. He doesn't turn freaking 25 until, so he still hasn't come close to reaching his peak. Averages 23 minutes a game for the for Dallas. Is he having as good a year as last year? No, he's not. But I wouldn't say like that means it's been a poor year. Frig. I respect, I respect Doug Armstrong as one of the smart hockey men in the NHL, and Harley stepped in last year at that Four Nations and was fantastic. And I mean, Dallas is one of the best teams in the league, and the kid plays 24-year-old defenseman playing 23 minutes a night for a serious cup contender. I'd take that for Reinbacher when he's 24. Absolutely. Just looking here, he's third on the Stars in time on ice. So third on a team that is third in the 32, 14, and 9, 73 points. Third most ice time. And the other two are, vets. He's 24. I just hope that's Reinbacher in. I hope that's Reinbacher in 2 years. To be fair, life's not fair. I take that poor year from Harley right into the Habs roster. Ooh, yeah. My pick for MVP on the Habs would be Suzuki, followed by Hudson, Caulfield. But Dovish deserves a few first ballot votes. Yeah. Yeah, well, hey. Susie's on pace for 95 friggin' points, eh? You can argue all three, that's for sure. Hudson, Suzuki have been great, but without doubt, Dovish 18-5-3 Habs would be in trouble. Yeah. I think the Habs would be in trouble if they didn't have Nick Suzuki. I mean, you can look at it that way too, right? Habs can bet any team on a given night. Bet. Trader Mike, come on over to YouTube, my friend. Join in the conversation. I would not trade for Thomas at the cost they're asking. No, me neither. Better value at Hage, Reinbacher. We're about 3 years away. Thomas may or may not work out at 10 million top quarterbacks. We're saying that if everyone gets paid, we have 1 year to win it. Yeah, well, Trader Mike, with a name like that, I think you'd trade. Surprised you're averse to a trade, Trader Mike, but yeah, I guess so. Oh, now we're getting Harley trade discussions in here. I'm sure Jay would go for that. Stock trader. Oh, okay. I was trying to be light there, Micah. Yeah. I don't think Mike, I don't think the Habs are 3 years away. The way they beat Colorado the other night, the way they handled Vegas, the way they played against all the top teams in the league. They beat Carolina, they beat Minnesota. Every top team in the NHL this year they've beaten at least once. I don't think the Habs, if not this year, I think by next year, playoff time, they're serious contenders. I don't see it being 3 years away, to be honest. I think they're serious contenders now from here on. The window's open for me. I don't see any blockbuster at deadline due to the availability of the quality of top six thereafter. A plan B, lower or vet, to me looks in our future. Yeah. Glenn, I didn't think I'd still be going either, my friend. So I went an hour, 20 minutes with taping the show with Rick, and another 220, so 3.5 hours here. My gluteus maximuses are almost at their max. But you know what? Habs are soon not even be playing, so might as well go overboard right now. I don't see any. Yeah. Oh, Trader Mike talking about Robert Thomas or Thomas Harley. Yeah. Well, to be fair, it could be both. I believe Hughes and Gordon would not trade Hage unless it was for someone like Thomas. And of course, the kid. Yeah. Snarky loafs. Yeah, I'll be doing Olympic cast, Donnie, for sure. Got to try to get some. This is my revenue stream, so I can't afford to take the month off. I got to. We'll have to get creative. Maybe myself, Gooley, or Hage won't be traded. No, Gaza, nobody would trade you. Maybe Gooley or Hage, but not Gaza will not be traded. He's the one untouchable. Gaza. Thank you for being so generous with your time. Hey. No NFL today. Not a biggie. I think the Habs will make a couple more moves. The player we'll get has been on nobody's radar. Yeah. Okay. So you don't have a name then. So it's, yeah, probably like Sheldon Canagieser or someone like that, right? You figure that's be something right out of the blue. Tim Bozon. Yeah, we'll see. Braden Shen and Luke Shen. Somebody mentioned that earlier. Bring the Shen brothers to town. Thing with Shen is, I mean, I don't know that another defensive center is two-way center is what they absolutely positively need. That seems to be kind of like, but he does bring an upgrade in grit, truculence, you could say. Ed, I'm not sure about where you can find archive games. You almost have to get a package of some sort where the games would be archived. I don't know if you can get them on YouTube or. Bontoon wants it to be Cooley. Yeah. You want it to be somebody that won't be traded. Yeah. Well, that would be a surprise. It was somebody that's not going to be traded. That is true. LA doesn't seem thrilled with Byfield. Well, that's because Byfield is big guy that doesn't use his size, and that's not what the Habs need. They don't need big guys just for the sake of having big guys. If they get a big guy, it's got to be one that uses his size. I think our trade line pickups will be Newhook and Line. Capu's great where he is. I'd say leave it B, maybe pick up a D with some toughness for the run. Don't mess with the team chemistry. There are a lot of different options, aren't there? And that might be what they're looking at. I'm not going to pretend to know otherwise. That's for sure. All right, I'm going to go another 5 minutes here. And my head's going to explode pretty soon. My gluteus maximus. Habs do need to get bigger and stronger to experience deep success. Yeah. Will a team pick up Pickard? I don't know. I don't think there'll be a clamoring, but you never know. Any opinions on my previous comment? Yeah. I don't know. Sure. I don't spend a lot of time watching the Bruins, to be honest with you, Francois. That's one team I don't find exciting. I would be just as happy if Robidas would give Arbor a bit more ice time. Yeah, I know. Perbix, yes, Pontoon. It's been a couple weeks since you mentioned Perbix. Panarin to Detroit. Is that the rumor, or is it happening, or I don't know. They can have him. I don't think he might get them into the playoffs, but man, that guy couldn't check his hat. I can't see him being much of a factor at playoff time. I am checking trends on X, and I don't see Panarin. So, are you just asking out of the blue, or? Oh, geez, Don. Does anyone else feel guilty here? That's Don's the only one who's contributed here now twice. I feel guilty. I hope somebody else. Thank you, Don. You didn't have to do that, my friend. I was lamenting a bit, but not with you. Entertop, did you are you just asking that out of the blue? Or do you have somebody that's is Elliot Friedman throwing it out there, or Pierre LeBrun, or? So let me get this straight. Cole at 55 games, 32, 25, 57, 7.6 million. Kaprizov, 30 goals, 37 assists, 67 points, 17 million. Yeah. No, you got it straight. Bill Guerin, the genius that he is. Hey, there's a lot of NHL guys whose favorite GM is Bill Guerin. Trust me. And agents. Trader Mike. Canucks in 2007. The Sedins were 26 at 57 points each. 2008, they were a year older and they started figuring it out. Kessler was better and had more experience. In the same year, Sedins had 82 points and needed to learn from losses. Oilers as well. 90 to 83 were dominant but needed to learn a few things. Yep. Uh-huh. And what are you suggesting there, Trader Mike? I say the Habs can be dominant, but they haven't learned what the San Jose needed to learn. after their loss to Pittsburgh in 2016. Well, every team's different, you know. I mean, LA Kings won a cup when it was unexpected. Doughty and Kopitar weren't very old. Chicago, friggin' Taves and led by Taves and Kane, and they were what, under 22? So you never know when elite players are ready to lead you to the promised land. The Canadians have many elite players right now, and they could win a cup this year. You don't know. You can look at history and say, well, they won't because, this team, but every team's different. Every circumstance is different. The two-time defending cup champs are missing their best player. So it's wide open now. Colorado, that looked like they were unbeatable, they're beatable now, right? The President's Cup winners, President's Trophy winners every year don't win the cup. Like one exception in the past 20 years or something ridiculous like that. So it's wide open. And the Canadians are in it. They stand as good a chance as anyone with the talent they have. Loads of skill. Dobish plays like he has the last 3 games. The Canadians can beat anybody. Oh, Glenn, Marathon Man, I got a comment in. There you go. Yeah. You just got under the wire, Glenn. Thank you for the contribution. I appreciate it. Chicago traded Panarin to bring back Brandon Saad for playoff services. Seems like a good indication of Panarin's value. Yeah. I don't know that. Yeah. Maybe, eh? You asking if you think it's a good fit for Detroit? Oh, yes, asking. Yeah. Sure. Yes, please get them so they can lose in the playoffs. I don't know. They already have Kane. They have Raymond. They already have the kind of. I don't necessarily think that would be who I would go for if I was Detroit. So now you're leaving, Glenn. Jeez. Glenn sticks around for 5 minutes, sends me $5. Pretty nice of him, eh? Thanks, Glenn. I loved the game so much last night. I'm doing the replay. I know, way. Hell of a game. I appreciate you appreciating my hard work, Glenn. It's pretty cool that I've got a following. I'm very grateful. Thank you, folks. I say the Habs can be dominant, but they haven't learned what San Jose needed to learn after their loss to Pittsburgh in 2016. Well, I hear what you're saying, but it's rare for a team to win on their first try. Well, this isn't Montreal's first try. They were in the playoffs last year. It's not as rare as you think. Loved the game so much last night. I'm doing the replay. It's rare for a team to have to be as good as the Habs are with the talent they have, the under 25 talent. You know, you got to look at the Canadians as being unusual circumstances that they, you know. Do I think they win the cup this year? Maybe not, but they might make the final. They could win the East. I don't see why not. Pittsburgh, when they won the cup, they went to the final and then they won the cup, right? Did it take them 4 or 5 years with their young core? No, it took them a year. So Chicago, their rise with Taves and Kane was pretty damn quick, right? Did it take Kane 4 or 5 years? No. Took him a couple. And they won a freaking cup. So if you've got the good young talent to do it, the rise can be awfully quick. And Montreal is all their core is the kids. So, you know, like Lane Hudson, look at how quickly he's become one of the elite defensemen in the league. Habs with above average goaltending this year, a couple of additions. Look out! There's not a lot of teams that are going to want to face them, and you hear that every time. Teams talk about the Habs. It's like, oh, like the coaches, they all praise just how friggin' fast and skilled, good they are. You know. The Penguins, okay, they went 06-07, lost in the first round. Next year, went to the Cup final. That could be like the Habs. And then the year after, won the Cup. That's with all their young, you know, all that young, great talent, right? Not saying the Habs have a Crosby, but I would pit Hudson up against Letang any day, and so on and so on. So didn't take them. Took them 2 years to make the Cup final. They had missed the playoffs 5 straight years. So there is some similarities in the fact that they're just oozing with elite young talent, right? Like the Habs, and it's not just with Mears. They've got several high picks, top 3, top 5 picks. So, Chicago Blackhawks, same kind of deal. Like I say, it was a pretty meteoric rise for that young core. LA Kings wasn't like they, were world beaters for a few years, and it took them 5 years of losing to make it. Panarin might make more sense for teams like Seattle or LA who can't score. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like that they're gonna go. That he could go to a team that needs needs a sniper. Habs win this year, the rest of the league will be screwed for a decade. Yeah. Well, I'm not discounting it. A lot of people are, but The Habs win the cup. Yes, they will, man. Love the cover, Matt's the Little Viking. If we could get someone as close as town as we were blessed for sure. Great show, Grant. Love the live chat. Please like and subscribe. Great job. Thanks, Nas. Oh, right on. I appreciate the oh, so there's two NASAs. Okay. So yeah. So lowercase NAS. Big thumbs up. Thank you. One of you guys should change your name, maybe. NAS. I'll try to remember that the Let's Go. Okay. So you're the yeah. No disrespect, capital NAS, but lowercase NAS. You're my favorite NAS. Thank you. Thank you for the contribution and the kind words. Appreciate it. I guess sticking around this last 15 minutes paid off because I went from having $10 to another 25. Yay. So thank you. Maybe I'll go another 5 minutes. Yeah, there's no football today, right? Quickly, folks, you got anything else? We'll wrap it up here. People like to it's fun. I enjoy reading most of the comments. To be fair, not all the comments. Elliot. Go Habs, go. Hey, okay. Well, that's a nice comment, Nas. I can't disagree with that. We're down to 70 on here. Trader Mike, I saw Patty Kane, his first ever game. Never heard of him at that point. You never heard of Patrick Kane? Guess you were the big draft junkie, eh? He was drafted first overall. Every team needs a bit of luck to win. Does that mean the Habs can't win because they can't be lucky? Yeah. Patrick Kane won a cup in his third year in the NHL, Trader Mike, so. So I'm not sure what your point is here. What took 4 years? They did not qualify. Yeah. Like it's taken the Habs 33 years, if you want to look at it that way. They didn't qualify for, they haven't won a cup for the last 33 years. Patrick Kane, at 21 years of age, won a Stanley Cup with Chicago. And what I'm saying is the likes of Demidov, Hudson, Slav, along with frickin' Caulfield, Dobson, Suzuki, on and on and on. The young under 26 talent that's only, that's only been getting better and can grasp it. I don't see why they can't, compete this year and then next year, look out. that quickly, not 3 years. Why would it be 3 more years? Hudson's been in the league 2 years, so it'd be 5 years then. Are you saying Demidov needs 5 years? Hudson needs 5 years. Slav needs 8 years. Caulfield needs 9. Suzuki needs 10 before they can compete. Well, that wasn't a timeline for Taves and Kane and Seabrook and you know, all that young talent. So no. And it took Crosby, Malkin, Letang, etc. 3 years. Stahl, they'd only been in the league like 3-4 years, and these guys won a cup. So no. Habs have that kind of skill and talent, and that's why they're I'm not counting them out for winning the East and for winning a cup over the next couple of years. Certainly not 3 more years. That's maybe it'll be 3 more years. Could be this year, could be next year, could be the year after, could be 3 years down the road, could be never. We don't know. I'm just saying I don't think necessarily need, if you are looking at past and you were and saying, well, this is why it's going to be 3 more years. Well, I've given you examples of teams where it didn't. That good young core didn't need 5 years, right? Because 3 more years would mean 4 years for Demidov, 5 years for Hudson, 7 years for Slav, as I was saying. So all of these guys, so we'll see. They may never win a cup. They may win 5. They may win next year. They may win 5 in a row. Here, who knows? All I know is that the Canadians have not had this kind of talent since Serge Savard was running the team in the mid 80s, early to mid 80s. And it might even be more talented. Sure, the goaltending hasn't always helped, but what would you do differently to tweak the PK? Well, I would take Mr. Jake Evans off of it. That'd be the first thing. He's just not doing it on the PK this year, folks. I don't know if he's the worst penalty killer stats-wise. I'd like to see stats, but there can't be many that are giving up more than 10 goals per 60. And I think Evans is up to about 12 on the PK. 12 goals per 60. Like, it's just he ain't getting it done. So you can be stubborn about it all you want, but when a guy's not doing what he's being asked to do, at some point you got to take him off of that. There's lots of other guys capable of doing it. Veleno's been a lot better when he killed penalties than Evans. They were 27th in the league when Evans. Where are they now in penalty killing? They were 27th in the league when Evans got injured. They got up to 20 without him, and I bet you they're friggin' 29th now or something like that. Does anyone have what place they're in as far as penalty killing goes? I'm just looking it up here. PK. They're back to 27th. So what does that tell you? That's the one change that there's been on. No, they're 27th. According to this stat, 77.1 is 27th in the league. So that's not very good. They were 27th. Evans went down. They moved up to 20th. Evans came back. They're back to 27. Not good. Hard to quantify when a team wins a cup. Well, yeah, but if you read the whole Peter, that goes for what he was saying too, because he was trying to quantify how a team would win a cup because of past teams, and so I made examples of what he was saying was incorrect. That's all. If you've been hearing what I've just been saying for the last 5 minutes while I was, that's what I'm saying. It could be they could win a cup this year. They could win a cup in 5 years. They could win a cup in 3. They could win a cup in 2, or they may never win a cup. Who knows? All I'm saying is you can't quantify when a team wins a cup. It's exactly what I've been saying verbally. So, right? So to say it's not fair, or you only do you have your sound turned down, or are you just going by what's on the by the comments and not by what I'm saying? Because that's what I'm saying. You don't know if and when they win the cup. And you certainly can't go by past, because it's all over the place. Edmonton, like you say, has all this talent, but they haven't won. Mind you, they made it to the cup final the last 2 years. So, and in Game 7, and lost by a goal. So that's pretty close, right? You can say, well, they didn't win a cup, but you can't come any closer to winning a cup, right? And teams with talent don't always win cups, but your odds of winning a cup with lots of talent are better than if you don't have talent. And Montreal is highly skilled. So you compare. The reason I brought those teams up was there are some comps there. Edmonton too don't have the depth of high skill. That's one of their main issues. Like, they've got Draisaitl and McDavid, but Montreal's elite skill young talent runs a lot deeper than 2, which is why I think when it's all said and done, they've got a better opportunity, I think, to seriously contend for a cup longer period of time than Edmonton, who really only the last 2 years has seriously contended. There was one other year that they made it to the finals. I'm afraid the poor penalty killing could be a difference maker in a long playoff series. Well, and the fact that what makes it even worse, Andy, is the fact that they give up a pile of they get a pile of penalties too, right? I mean, the Habs have 5 shorties, which isn't bad. Cappy and Anderson both in on 3 of them. I'd like to know who has the most. Okay. Habs have 41 power play goals against. All right. And Evans is over half of those. And he's on the ice. Maybe he had been on the ice for about a third of the penalty kill, if that. So, time to move on. Thanks for coming out, Jake, but I mean, they've got Deneau, they've got Kapanen, they've got Suzuki, right? They can all kill penalties. They don't have to have Evans doing it. If he's not getting the job done, then you get someone else to do the job. Okay, folks. I said, what, half hour ago that I was doing 5 more minutes? Let me just see. Goals against. Yeah. I did. I calculated it a couple of days ago or last week. I hope I still have the stats here on Evans, but it wasn't pretty, folks. Yeah. I may not have kept them, but at the time he was like 10 goals against per 60 minutes penalty killing, and it was ugly, and it's only gotten worse. So anyway, hey, no problem, Peter. Can't quantify it in the stock market. You would think everyone with a calculator would be a stock market wizard, but it doesn't work that way. We always say it's more art than science. Yeah. Well, good. Yeah. Remember Solani and Korea going to Colorado? That on paper looked amazing, but it was a train wreck. Chemistry is an important thing too, and it's one of the reasons, Mike, I think that the Canadians aren't going to get too crazy with trades here and blow, trade anybody of significance on the team to try to get better, because they're a great group there, right? Might have missed it, but on Sunday the Edmonton Oilers placed Calvert Pickard. Yes. I don't think that's very big news. I'm not sure who would pick him up. Dova should play the next 2 games. I think that's a distinct possibility. Yeah, I think there's a couple of gaps there, Peter, before they could win a cup, but I think every team has there's no perfect team right now. If you look at everyone, they've all got holes. Montreal, I think they got to get grittier and a little bigger, and they might. And that may not necessarily cost you a whole pile, so I think they might do it. Wonder how the Habs would do if the Habs average penalties and average PK. Yeah, I know way. Part of that too is goaltending, right? Your best penalty killer is your goalie, as the old saying goes, and Montreal has not had very good goaltending. So, but then again, maybe they're, part of the reason why their goaltending stats aren't great is because the PK has sucked too. I'd like to know what the save percentage is for Habs goalies on the PK. Do they have such stats out there? What's my opinion on the Dandy Galley Andy line? The Andy line? Is that like a dandelion? I don't know. It's veteran. They've had their moments. I thought Dandy was pretty good last night. Andy's been fairly solid. I don't know. I think it can be upgraded, perhaps. And perhaps that would be with Galley replaced. What do you think, Nas? I know Evans often losing sight of the man. Yeah, I know. He's caught puck watching. Exactly. wonder if Armia was part of the reason Evans looked so good. I think he was. I do. If I'm Habs management, I'm doing all I can before NHL expansion screws our plans. Well, Jacques, Montreal's got way too much talent they can afford to lose. They can afford to lose a vet from the team, and they will. They'll lose a good player, but that won't kill them. They've got way too much depth. You know, it runs 15 deep at least. So there's other teams, Jacques, that it's going to hurt more than the Habs because Montreal's got so much good young talent and talent coming up. I think there's other teams that it will hurt more than it will the Habs. Well, look, folks, I really have to get off here. Thank you so much. Thank you, Nas, for the contribution there. Wish I could stay longer and answer some more of your questions, but I'm 2:50 in here and an hour and 20 minutes before that, so I got to go. Alex, thanks. You have a good night. Everyone have a good night. Probably doing a podcast tomorrow, and then definitely tomorrow night after the game, right? Okay. Well, Trader Mike, you're asking way too many questions for a guy that's not even on YouTube. Okay, buddy? Next time you come to YouTube, join the live chat, because you being on X does not do any good for me as far as getting any kind of residual. So if you don't mind, in the future there, come to my YouTube channel and ask questions on the live chat, okay? Yes, I hear you, NAS Ole. I've been saying that where they got to platoon him, start part of a platoon when the healthy guys start coming back. Thanks, Trader Mike. Appreciate it. You had some really intelligent insight, and we'll talk more in the future, okay? And yes, I'm on the same page, NAS. You got to talk to him and say, look, you're going to sit out one night, this guy's going to sit out one night, just kind of rotate it as we go along here. Texier, I would put in that group, maybe Bolduc, have 3 or 4 guys. Line, if he comes back, definitely in the group. They all sit out a game at some point, and it's just because there's nobody deserves to be out all the time, but game here and there for a group of about 4 or 5 of them. Okay, folks, thank you so much. I got to go, and I don't know if I'm doing a podcast tomorrow day. Probably set up the game if I can get somebody to interview, and but definitely after the game, the Minnesota game, I'll be doing a podcast. Hope to see you. All right.